If you've ever been dismissed by your own family when you needed them most, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next. My name is Maya Chin, and for 3 years my family told everyone I was faking chronic pain for attention. What they didn't know was that while they were mocking my fake illness, I'd built a $73 million medical device company that revolutionized pain management technology. And the chief of neurology who'd been treating me? He was sitting right behind them at that family reunion, recording every word. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Growing up, I was the family success story. Straight A's, full scholarship to MIT, graduated top of my engineering class. My older brother Justin was the golden child. Charismatic, popular, terrible with money but great at convincing our parents he was destined for greatness. My younger sister Melissa followed his lead in everything, including treating me like the boring, studious oddball. Everything changed 4 years ago when I was 28. I'd been working as a senior engineer at a medical device firm in Boston when the symptoms started. First, it was just fatigue and muscle aches I attributed to long hours. Then came the stabbing pain in my joints, the brain fog so thick I'd forget entire conversations, the migraines that left me vomiting in my office bathroom. 6 months of tests. Dozens of doctors. Finally, diagnosis. Fibromyalgia, complicated by early-onset degenerative disc disease and a rare autoimmune condition. Chronic, incurable, debilitating. I called my parents from the neurologist's office, crying. My mom's first words? Are you sure you're not just stressed? You've always been dramatic about minor things. Dad added, your brother works 80-hour weeks and he's fine. Maybe you need to exercise more. That should have been my first warning. I moved back to Chicago to be closer to family while managing my conditions. Bad decision. Within 2 months, the family narrative shifted from Maya's stressed to Maya's faking for attention. The evidence? I looked fine on good days. I could sometimes walk without my cane. I smiled in photos. To them, chronic invisible illness meant I was lazy, manipulative, and pathetic. Justin led the charge. At Sunday dinners he'd do exaggerated limps, mocking my gait. Oh, I can't possibly help with dishes, my fibromyalgia is acting up. Everyone laughed. Including our parents. Melissa started posting on social media about her sister who claims to be disabled but somehow manages to go to coffee shops. The comments from extended family were brutal. Aunt Sarah, Dad's sister, became the loudest voice. Back in my day we worked through pain. This generation wants a trophy for breathing. The worst part? They started blocking my access to medical care. I was on Dad's insurance, he's a hospital administrator. When I got a referral to a specialist pain clinic, the claim was denied. When I asked Dad about it, he said, we're not wasting money on enabling your delusions. Mom went through my apartment when I was at a doctor's appointment and threw away my medications. You don't need these. You need therapy and a job. They pressured me to stop using my cane. You're embarrassing us in public. They told extended family I'd been fired for incompetence when I'd actually gone on medical leave. They started a family text chain without me, where they discussed intervention strategies for my Munchausen syndrome. I found out because Justin accidentally sent me a screenshot meant for Melissa. Mom says we need to cut Maya off completely. She'll never get better if we enable her. That was 18 months ago. That's when I stopped telling them anything real about my life. What my family didn't know was that I'd never stopped working. I just stopped telling them about it. During my good hours, the brief windows between pain flares when my brain was clear, I worked. From my apartment, in coffee shops, on cushioned chairs, from hospital waiting rooms. I freelanced as a medical device consultant, leveraging my MIT engineering degree and my intimate knowledge of chronic pain management. I noticed a massive gap in the market. Existing pain management devices were clunky, expensive, and ineffective for conditions like mine. TENS units that didn't work. Nerve stimulators that required surgery. Nothing portable, affordable, and actually helpful. So I designed something better. I used my savings and a small business loan to build a prototype. A wearable device that combined TENS therapy, heat therapy, and biofeedback sensors in a sleek, discrete band. It looked like a fitness tracker but provided targeted pain relief based on real-time nerve activity readings. I called it Neuropulse. I tested it on myself first. Then I found a small clinical trial through my neurologist, Dr. Marcus Rivera, the chief of neurology at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He'd been one of the only doctors who truly believed me, who listened, who saw my pain as real and valid. Dr. Rivera became my mentor and my medical advocate. He introduced me to investors interested in pain management technology. He connected me with other chronic pain patients willing to test Neuropulse. He documented everything. Every appointment, every test result, every instance of my family's medical neglect. You might need this someday, he told me during one appointment, holding up a folder. People don't believe in visible illnesses until they see undeniable proof. The clinical trial results were revolutionary. 83% of participants reported significant pain reduction. 91% preferred Neuropulse to their current pain management solutions. Within 8 months, I had venture capital funding. Within a year, I had FDA approval. Within 18 months, Neuropulse Medical Devices was valued at $73 million. I hired a team of 12 employees, many of whom had chronic pain conditions themselves. I kept my CEO role quiet. I used my middle name professionally, Maya Lee, to keep family from Googling their way to my success. I worked from home most days, attended board meetings via video, and structured my schedule around my health needs. I made Forbes 30 Under 30 in healthcare. I spoke at medical conferences about patient-centered device design. I signed distribution deals with major hospital systems, including Northwestern Memorial, where my father worked in administration. He had no idea the breakthrough pain management device his hospital was purchasing came from me. My salary and stock options put me at $2.3 million in annual income. I paid off my medical debt. I bought an accessible condo with wide doorways and a walk-in tub. I finally had health insurance that actually covered my treatments. And I told my family nothing. Why? Because I needed to know the truth. Would they love me without money? Would they believe my illness was real even if I wasn't successful? Would they apologize for their cruelty if they had nothing to gain? I already knew the answer. But I wanted to watch them prove it. The family reunion was Aunt Sarah's idea. A chance to reconnect after Maya's troubled few years. According to the family group chat I'd been added back to. The invitation came with strings. We expect you to attend without the dramatics. No canes, no talk about your conditions, and please dress appropriately. This isn't about you. I almost declined. But Dr. Rivera convinced me otherwise. Maya, I've been documenting their medical neglect for 18 months, he said during my appointment 2 weeks before the reunion. The interference with your care, the medication disposal, the insurance blocking. In some states, that's criminal elder abuse. You're under 35, but the principles apply. This is medical neglect of a dependent adult. He showed me the file. 37 documented instances. Recorded phone calls where dad discussed denying my insurance claims. Text messages from mom admitting she threw away my medication. Social media posts from Melissa encouraging others to stop enabling Maya's victim mentality. I've been invited to your family's reunion, Dr. Rivera continued. Aunt Sarah's husband works at Northwestern. I'm his wife's neurologist. She has no idea I'm your doctor, patient privacy laws, but I'll be there. If they publicly dismiss your conditions again, I want permission to intervene. Why? I asked. Because what they're doing is dangerous. Because you're my patient and I advocate for all my patients. And because I'm tired of watching families destroy people with invisible illnesses. I gave him permission. I also called my lawyer Jennifer Park, who'd helped structure my company. I need you on standby at the reunion. If things go the way I think they will, I'm finally ready to set boundaries. Jennifer had been pressuring me to pursue legal action against my family for months. She'd compiled evidence of fraud. Mom had opened credit cards in my name during my medical leave, racking up $47,000 in debt I'd only discovered during a credit check for business financing. Dad had forged my signature on documents claiming I'd voluntarily withdrawn from his insurance. I'll be ready, Jennifer said. Say the word and I'll make the call. The reunion was held at Aunt Sarah's McMansion in Naperville. 70 people, extended family friends, even some of my parents' colleagues from the hospital. I wore a simple dress and brought my cane. Not because I was trying to provoke them but because I needed it. I'd had a bad pain flare the night before and my right hip was barely functional. Dr. Rivera arrived with his wife, Aunt Sarah's husband's sister. He spotted me immediately and gave a subtle nod. He was wearing a microphone disguised as a tie clip. Legal in Illinois, single-party consent for recordings. Jennifer was parked 3 blocks away with a police detective, Officer Martinez, who specialized in elder abuse and financial fraud cases. She'd been building a case file based on my documentation. Your family has committed multiple crimes, Jennifer had explained. Identity theft, insurance fraud, medical neglect. The moment they publicly disparage your conditions again while actively interfering with your medical care, we have grounds for both criminal and civil action. I didn't want revenge. I wanted acknowledgement. I wanted them to face what they'd done. But I also wanted consequences. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. The reunion started pleasantly enough. I stayed in a corner chair with good back support, chatting with distant cousins who didn't know the family drama. Dr. Rivera and his wife mingled nearby, positioned with clear audio range. Then Justin spotted me. "Oh look, Maya brought her prop," he announced loudly, pointing at my cane. 20 people turned to look. "How much attention do you need today, sis?" Melissa joined in. "She probably practiced her limp in the mirror this morning." I said nothing. Just gripped my cane tighter. Mom approached with Aunt Sarah and 3 of Dad's hospital colleagues. "Maya, we need to talk about your attendance here. We specifically asked you not to make this about yourself." "I'm sitting quietly," I said. "I'm not making anything about anything." "The cane," Aunt Sarah interjected. "It's performative. We all know you're perfectly capable of walking normally. I've seen you at Target without it." "I have good days and bad days," I explained, keeping my voice level. "Today is a bad day." Dad joined the growing circle. "Maya, enough. We've enabled this long enough. You need to hear some hard truths." Then Mom did it. She turned to face the entire party and raised her voice. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" The room fell silent. "I want to address something," Mom continued. "My daughter Maya has been claiming to have fibromyalgia and several other conditions for 3 years now. She's been using these claims to avoid work, to get attention, and to make our family look bad." My heart pounded. This was it. "She's just pretending to have fibromyalgia," Mom announced, gesturing at me like I was evidence in a trial. "She's perfectly fine when she wants attention." Dad nodded enthusiastically. "We've tried everything. Therapy, interventions, tough love. She refuses to accept that she's healthy and just needs to work harder." Justin laughed. "Yeah, Maya's great at looking pathetic. Should have been an actress." Melissa pulled out her phone. "I'm actually making a TikTok series about family members who fake disabilities for sympathy. Maya's my inspiration." Aunt Sarah added, "In my professional opinion, I'm a retired nurse. Maya shows classic signs of Munchausen syndrome. She's addicted to victim status." I gripped my cane. My hands were shaking, from pain, from rage, from 3 years of gaslighting crashing down at once. Then Dr. Marcus Rivera stood up. "Excuse me," he said, his voice cutting through the room like a scalpel. "I'm Dr. Marcus Rivera, Chief of Neurology at Northwestern Memorial Hospital." The room froze. Dad's face went pale. He recognized Dr. Rivera from the hospital. Dr. Rivera walked toward my family, pulling a tablet from his bag. "I've been Maya's treating physician for 3 years. I've been standing here for the last 40 minutes listening to you publicly disparage and medically gaslight your daughter." He turned the tablet toward the crowd. "These are Maya's MRI results. Spinal degeneration at L4, L5 and L5, S1. Nerve impingement. Documented autoimmune markers. Fibromyalgia diagnosis confirmed by 3 independent specialists." Mom's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. "But here's what's truly disturbing," Dr. Rivera continued, his voice hardening. "I've also documented 37 instances of medical neglect and interference over the past 18 months. Would you like me to list them publicly?" "You can't." "Patient privacy," Dad stammered. "Maya gave me explicit consent to disclose this information in situations where her medical care is being publicly undermined," Dr. Rivera said. He looked at me. "Maya?" I nodded. Dr. Rivera pulled up another document. "Patricia Chin, you admitted via text message to disposing of your daughter's prescribed medications on 3 separate occasions. That's criminal interference with medical treatment." Mom's face drained of color. That's out of context." "David Chin, you used your position as hospital administrator to block your daughter's insurance claims for necessary specialist care. That's insurance fraud and abuse of power. I've filed a complaint with hospital ethics." Dad collapsed into a chair. Several of his colleagues stepped back, whispering, "Justin Chin, you've used social media to publicly defame your sister, claiming she's faking a disability. That's defamation and disability discrimination." Justin's face went red. This is bullshit. And Aunt Sarah, Dr. Rivera turned to her. You've been practicing medicine without a license by diagnosing Maya with a psychological condition and advising family members to withhold medical support. Your nursing license expired in 2003. Aunt Sarah dropped her phone. The crack of glass shattering echoed through the silent room. Now, Dr. Rivera said calmly, would anyone else like to publicly comment on Maya's medical conditions? Because I have recordings of this entire conversation, and I'm prepared to use them in multiple legal proceedings. The room erupted in whispers. Extended family members stepped away from my parents. Dad's colleagues were filming on their phones. I stood up, leaning heavily on my cane. I have something to add. Mom looked at me with panic in her eyes. Maya, sweetheart, we can talk about this privately. No, I said firmly. You made this public. We're finishing it publicly. I pulled my own tablet from my bag. I'd come prepared. While you've been telling everyone I'm a faking, unemployed burden, I've been building something. I turned the tablet to show the screen. The Neuropulse Medical Devices homepage featuring my face and title, Maya Lee Chin, founder and CEO. Melissa gasped. Wait, that's the company. The company Dad's hospital just purchased 47 devices from? Yes. I pulled up the invoice. $847,000 purchase order. Signed by David Chin, hospital administrator. Dad's face went from pale to gray. That's you. Neuropulse Medical Devices is currently valued at $73 million, I continued. We've sold devices to over 300 hospitals nationwide. I made Forbes 30 under 30 in healthcare. And I did it all while managing the conditions you claim don't exist. I pulled out a folder. My own documentation weapon. But here's what you're really not going to like. Mom, remember those credit cards you opened in my name? I have the documentation. $47,000 in fraudulent charges. That's identity theft. I slid the folder across to where she was standing. She didn't pick it up. Dad, those insurance claim denials? I have copies of your emails discussing how to block my coverage. That's insurance fraud and abuse of dependent adult laws. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to set boundaries with toxic family, because what happened next will shock you. And everyone in this family who participated in the group chat about my Munchausen syndrome? I have screenshots. That's defamation, and in Illinois it's actionable. Justin tried to laugh it off. You can't sue your own family. The doorbell rang. Aunt Sarah went to answer it. 2 police officers and a woman in a business suit entered. The woman was Jennifer Park, my lawyer. Good evening, Jennifer said. I'm representing Maya Chin in multiple legal matters involving members of her family. Officer Martinez is here regarding potential criminal charges. Officer Martinez stepped forward. Patricia Chin and David Chin, we need to speak with you about allegations of identity theft, insurance fraud, and medical neglect. You're not under arrest at this time, but you need to come to the station for questioning. Mom started crying. This is insane. Maya, you can't do this to your own mother. You did this to yourself, I said quietly. Every dismissive comment. Every time you told people I was faking. Every medication you threw away. Every insurance claim you blocked. You chose cruelty over compassion. You chose your pride over my health. Dr. Rivera stood beside me. For the record, Maya's conditions are severe enough that the medical neglect she experienced could have resulted in permanent damage or death. Fibromyalgia patients are at high risk for suicide due to chronic pain and lack of support. You're lucky your daughter is still alive. The room was dead silent except for Mom's crying. I turned to face my entire family. I don't expect apologies. I don't expect understanding. I'm simply declining to have relationships with people who've spent 3 years trying to convince me my suffering wasn't real. Jennifer handed documents to my parents, Justin and Aunt Sarah. These are cease and desist orders. No contact with Maya. No public statements about Maya. Violations will result in immediate legal action. I picked up my cane and walked toward the door. My chosen family was waiting outside. My business partner Rachel, who had chronic pain and understood. My girlfriend Simone, who'd never once doubted my illness. My therapist Dr. Kim, who'd helped me rebuild my shattered self-worth. Before I left, I turned back one more time. You taught me exactly how much I was worth to you. So I raised my price. You can't afford me anymore. Not financially, not emotionally, not in any way that matters. Paper beats promises every single time. I have documentation of everything. You have excuses. I wasn't hiding. I was watching. Every time you dismissed me, you were building my case. Then I walked out. Dr. Rivera followed along with Jennifer and the officers with my parents. Behind me I heard Aunt Sarah scream. Within 24 hours, my parents were formally charged with identity theft and insurance fraud. Dad was suspended from his hospital administrator position pending investigation. The hospital launched an ethics review into his misuse of authority. Mom's credit cards, the legitimate ones, were declined when she tried to pay for gas. Turns out Dad's salary was frozen during the investigation. They'd been living paycheck to paycheck, leveraging Dad's position for perks they could no longer access. Justin's TikTok account, where he'd been mocking me, went viral, but not the way he wanted. Disability rights advocates found his content and reported him en masse. His account was banned. His employer, a corporate PR firm, fired him for conduct unbecoming and liability risk. Melissa's fake disability TikTok series was discovered by her graduate school. Northwestern's social work program, ironically where Dr. Rivera also taught, expelled her for violating ethics codes before even completing her degree. Aunt Sarah received a cease and desist from the state medical board for practicing nursing without a valid license. Her husband filed for divorce 3 days later. Turned out Dr. Rivera's wife had been telling him about Sarah's cruelty for months and he was done. Within a week, the story hit local news. Hospital administrator charged with insurance fraud against disabled daughter. Dad's colleagues abandoned him. The hospital network announced he'd been terminated. Within 2 weeks, my parents' mortgage went into default. Dad's salary had been their only income. Mom hadn't worked in 20 years. Banks denied their loan applications. They put the house up for sale at a loss. Within a month, the civil suits were settled. My parents paid restitution for the identity theft, $47,000 plus damages, totaling $89,000. They paid my legal fees, $34,000. They signed over any claim to future contact or inheritance rights. Justin moved back in with our parents in their rental apartment, a 2-bedroom in a neighborhood they'd once sneered at. He was working as a night shift supervisor at Walgreens for $17 an hour. Melissa moved to Arizona to live with distant relatives, starting over with a ruined academic record. Dad pled guilty to insurance fraud and received 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and permanent prohibition from healthcare administration roles. Mom pled guilty to identity theft and received 18 months probation. Aunt Sarah's divorce was finalized. She lost the McMansion, the cars, and her social standing. Last I heard, she was working retail and living in a studio apartment. The extended family fractured. Half apologized to me and cut contact with my parents. Half tried to stay neutral and ended up trusted by neither side. Dr. Rivera testified in my case and became something of a hero in the chronic illness community. He started a foundation focused on medical advocacy for patients with invisible disabilities. My company grew. We launched Neuropulse 2.0 with even better pain management features. Valuation hit $127 million. Me. I kept building my life with people who'd earned their place in it. It's been 6 months since the reunion. I haven't spoken to my parents, Justin, Melissa, or Aunt Sarah since that night. The court orders remain in effect. My parents sent letters through their lawyer, groveling apologies, promises to do better, requests for reconciliation. I didn't respond. Jennifer handles all communication. Last month, Dad had a health scare, minor heart attack. Extended family reached out trying to guilt me into visiting. He's your father. He could have died. I sent flowers to the hospital. The card read, "Wishing you a full recovery. May you receive better medical support than you provided me." I didn't visit. Some people think I'm cruel. That family should forgive family. That I'm holding a grudge. But here's what I learned. Forgiveness doesn't require relationship. I've forgiven them in the sense that I don't spend my energy hating them. I've moved on. But moving on doesn't mean moving back. They didn't just dismiss my illness. They actively harmed me. They stole from me. They endangered my health. They spent 3 years trying to convince me I was crazy. And when given the chance to apologize privately, they chose public humiliation instead. I don't owe them my presence. I don't owe them access to my success. I don't owe them the peace of mind that comes from my forgiveness, meaning reconciliation. I owe myself protection. I owe myself peace. I owe myself a life surrounded by people who believe me when I say I'm in pain. My chosen family is thriving. Simone and I moved in together. Rachel and I are developing Neuropulse 3.0 with AI-assisted pain prediction. Dr. Rivera serves on our medical advisory board. I still have fibromyalgia. I still have bad pain days. I still use my cane regularly. But I'm also running a multi-million-dollar company, changing lives and proving that disability and success aren't mutually exclusive. Last week I spoke at a chronic illness conference. 200 people with invisible disabilities, all fighting for recognition, for belief, for dignity. I told them my story. I showed them the photos from the reunion. The moment Dr. Rivera stood up, the moment my family's faces changed, the moment I walked out. And I told them what I wish someone had told me 3 years ago. Your pain is real. Your experience is valid. And you don't owe anyone access to you while they're denying your reality. You're not faking. You're not weak. You're not too sensitive. You're surviving something they can't see, and that makes you stronger than they'll ever understand. Build your life anyway. Build your success anyway. Build your happiness anyway. And when they finally see what you've become without them, don't look back. The room gave me a standing ovation. Those who could stand. Others raised their canes, their crutches, their hands. A room full of people who understood. That's my family now. As for my biological family, I hear they're struggling. Dad can't find work in healthcare. Mom had to get a job for the first time in decades. She's doing medical billing, ironically. Justin's still at Walgreens. Melissa's working at a call center. They lost their reputation, their financial stability, their comfortable life. All because they couldn't accept that their daughter was sick. Sometimes I wonder if they finally believe I was telling the truth. If Dad understands the irony of his hospital using my devices. If Mom regrets throwing away medication that could have helped me function. But mostly I don't think about them at all. I'm too busy living the life they said I was too sick to build. If you've ever had to walk away from toxic family to save yourself, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done? Does any of this feel familiar? And if you're currently in a situation where family doesn't believe your invisible illness, hold on. Document everything. Build your support system. Believe in your own reality even when they don't. Your pain is real. Your strength is real. And your success will be the best revenge they never saw coming. Subscribe for more stories about people who proved everyone wrong. Because sometimes the best thing you can do for toxic family is succeed without them.